Hello again, everybody. I'm Larry Hamilton. Welcome to my YouTube painting channel. Thank you for watching. Today we're going to do a watercolor painting, and it's a scene from Arches National Park out in Utah, and it's a photograph that is made available by Jack Bell Photography, and he takes some beautiful photographs, and he's given me the okay to use some of them for my painting lessons here and demonstrations, so really appreciate that. You can look him up on Facebook. He has a Facebook page. He has a website on pixels.com where you can buy his photographs framed. Beautiful work. So anyway, check him out and thank him for me if you talk to him. We're painting on 11 by 14 Fabriano Artistico watercolor paper today, 300-pound paper. And we're doing this scene in Arches, as I said. And I want to go over to the computer and share a few of the images with you that are out on my website that you can use for your own work if you want to do this painting. So hold on, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm here at my computer now, and this is the scene, the original scene that I start with, and it's probably a pretty well-known photograph if you've been out there. I have not been to Arches National Park yet. Like to get there sometime, but this is the initial photograph, and as I usually do, I put a grid on it to kind of help with the sketch and help getting the objects and the parts in the right place. So this is what it looks like with the 5x4 grid, which fits nicely on 11 by 14 watercolor paper. And I get that grid, I think I've told you before, that I get that from a website called griddrawingtool.com. It's a website that's provided by arttutor.com in England, somewhere in Britain. And it's free. All you have to do is upload your image and decide what kind of grid you want, put the grid on it, and download it. So it really makes it handy to put any size grid on top of a photograph that you may want to try to paint or sketch. And then I have a black and white image of it here to kind of help with some of the values. This is there's not a lot of real darks in this, but I'm going to try to use this to help my painting process as well. And then lastly here is the sketch, and it's out on the website. You can go to a link below this video and pick it up and download it for your own use. And so I'll go back to my easel now and we'll get started. I do have a second photograph available. If this goes very quickly, and I don't know how quickly it's going to go, but if it goes fast enough, I do have a second painting available that we can do if we want to spend some more time together. So let me go back to the easel now and we'll get started. Okay, I'm back, and we're going to go through the brushes and paints. This is my Sterling Edwards painting set. It's the Sterling Edwards palette. I use his bristle brushes, medium and small here, for some blending and some nice getting some soft edges. I have a couple of flats. I have a 1-inch flat, half-inch flat nylon brushes. I have about 3 rounds here that are number 12, and number 8, and number 4. And then I have a script liner, or a rigger, they're called sometimes. Some people call them rigger, some call script liner. The same type of brush, has very long bristles and very narrow. It comes to a very fine point. Good for some detail work. I also have a sponge over here I may use. I don't know whether I'll need it or not, or how I'll use it exactly, but it's available. So let me go over the paints again. If you follow me, you know these are Holbein transparent watercolors. And in the palette here, arranged from this counterclockwise here, I have Payne's Gray, Cobalt Blue, Ultramarine Deep Blue, Prussian Blue, Permanent Violet, Hooker's Green, Umber, Burnt Sienna, Quinacridone Scarlet, Bright Rose, Brilliant Orange, Quinacridone Gold, Permanent Yellow Deep, and Cad Yellow Lemon. So that's the paints, that's the brushes, and I have my water and everything here ready to go, and I think I've told you about the sketch. Let me set the palette up here for us and get my painting arranged here so that you can see it and the palette as well. Try to do this so I can make it as large as possible for you and still be able to see the palette. That's pretty close. Okay. All right. So there we go. We have the palette on the lower right side, and we got the 11 by 14 paper here. I have this put on here with some. I use sketching paper, and then I trace it on here with some Surreal transfer paper, and so it leaves a little bit of a dark. Sometimes it's a little too dark for a watercolor, so I usually use my eraser here to take off some of this, so I don't leave quite as much dark color, dark graphic on the paper before I start my painting. So that's pretty good. It's kind of like when you're doing a snow scene, sometimes these pencil lines will show through, and I'm not particularly crazy about that. So sometimes they add to the painting, but I'm not one that likes to have a lot of pencil lines in there. Okay, so I think that's about what we want to have to start work from. You probably can't even see that sketch now. I have rubbed it out so much. All right, so normally I totally wet this thing down and get it all wet. Instead of doing a totally wet and wet approach today, I'm going to just wet part of the sky, and we'll start with putting in the sky first. And so I'm just going to get some clear water here, and we'll put in just a few areas where I want it to be soft. And I want when you're putting in sky and clouds in a watercolor painting, you want them to be soft and blended together. You don't want them to have a lot of hard edges. Hard edges in a painting tend to come forward. It tends to draw your eye to those hard edges. So if you want to put in a sky that's just sort of a nice background, this is a good way to do it, to wet the paper first. Plus, as you know, I paint vertically, so water runs down like crazy, and I have to kind of concern myself with that. Okay, so if you are watching live here, there's a chat window on your screen, and if you want to talk to me, you can type in a question or a comment, and I will look at my computer here from time to time at my left elbow, and I will try to answer you or answer a question or respond in some way. And so got that out of the way. All right, so let's get going. I'm going to put the sky in the photograph I'm using. I don't know if you can see the photograph here. Let me flip this over to this scene. This is a camera I have on a side view over here, so it's looking in this way. So if I happen to get in front of the one camera, I can show you another side over here. But this photograph is the one I'll be looking at and using as I'm painting. It has a little bit different color than the photograph that you see on the on your screen, and so it's got a little more pink in it, and I kind of like the way it looks, so I'm going to try to use that. I'm going to use some of my ultra blue, and since this is now damp, it's not really heavily soaked with water, I'm going to get me a good coating of blue here. We'll just start up here and put some of this in. I'm going to leave some areas for some clouds, and let it fall in there. You see, the water has run already. This is creating hard edges up here, harder than I would like. So I will probably come in and soften some of those edges to get a few more clouds in there, get a little break in the clouds. Over here on the left side, I'm going to put some of this, a little bit of my bright rose, and add a little bit of a pinkish color here. That's more purple than pink, but put that in, put in some more clouds up here. I want this to just touch along the top of this arch, and I'm going to leave some room for snow up there. I want to have a little ribbon of snow floating down, and the rest of it I want to have some decent color in it. And so this area up here I was talking about, this got some hard edges. I can take a white, a clear brush with clean water in it and just soften some of these edges so that it doesn't look hard. And that's really the kind of look I want in a sky. I don't want it to be a lot of hard edges. Okay, something like that. I'm going to put a little more pink in here. Actually, this pink actually comes down, this whole cloud and everything does come down underneath this arch and sticks in this area. So you can see through this arch with the opening that we have here. A little more blue paint. Okay. All right, pick some of that up. It's a little bit too dark. Okay. Okay, so that's that. Let me see if I can put a little more tone in here with this pink. I like that. It's almost too pink there now, right? So let's lighten it up. I'm going to make it darker than it looks. I have to darken it up so you can see it. It's otherwise it's not going to show up very well on the camera here. And okay, so I'm getting some good differentiation here with the some clear water and some blue. If I keep going back in here, I'm going to mess it up, so I got to stay out of there so I don't get too much overworking of this sky. Put just a little bit in here, run it down. Okay. Just want that blue to stick through. I want to see the blue, but I want to show some of the fluffiness of these pink clouds here. The clouds are, and I want just a little bit of gray in here maybe. Soften that up a little bit. So I'm using the back of the brush. I'm not painting with the end of it. I'm using the back. And just get some indentations. Make it look like there's some puffiness going on. There's a little bit of action in that sky because it is a pretty big sky, so I don't want to have it to be just empty in one color. It's not good composition if you do it that way. Okay, so let's stop on that. Pick this up a little bit and let it run. Okay, so some of this could be lightened slightly maybe with a little bit of a tap. I just put a cloud in there with just tapping with dry paper towel. Okay, pretty well got that sky done. Except I see a hard edge going to start forming here, maybe one there. Take out those hard edges. All right. A little bit of a hard edge there even. Okay, so I'm going to call that done for now. I'll be bringing some of that blue back later when I get into some of these shadows down here in the foreground, but right now I'm going to stick with that. And I think I could take a little cloud out here maybe. There's a couple areas I could show some clouds in there. Okay, something like that. There's a little bit of a cloud there. Gives some depth. If you can get multiple values, get more than 2 values, if you get a light, medium, and dark value, you can actually get some nice three-dimensionality in the look of your clouds or your mountains or whatever it is. All right, so this mountain, a lot of it is this burnt sienna here, but it's redder than the burnt sienna that I have in my palette. See if I can get close to that. Maybe add a little bit of red to it. This quinacridone scarlet will make it a little redder. So these are colors from that area of the country out there. So let's see if we can put something. I'm doing wet on dry now, right? So I'm burnt sienna and scarlet. And I want to add some other little darker tones in there. So I'm going to pick up some of my umber, put a little umber over here beside my burnt sienna. So I'll use that to give myself a little bit of three-dimensionality here in some of these areas to change the tone, change the color. Okay, and I'm just trying to mix it up. I don't want it to have it all one color. I want to have a lot of different colored in here. Now, I'm not trying to do a photorealistic painting job of this photograph, right? I'm trying to make it artistic. I'm trying to make it look like there's stuff going on. If we're doing photorealism, I'd probably have little bitty brushes out and be messing around with taking a lot more time and a lot more effort than I will with this. Let's see, this comes down about here before we start hitting snow. So I'm going to put that in, I'll leave some areas down here where it starts touching the snow. I want to get some rough texture, and I'm just getting that by tapping the brush and letting come off whatever will. So I'm leaving some areas for snow in here. Okay, I've got a couple of things that come down like this that make it just a little bit. All right, that's not too bad. Go back and get a little more mixture of my paint here, get some more of my red and burnt sienna. Taking this almost right out of the tube, these colors. Okay. This really is pretty much the center of interest of this entire painting. So you see I have some color change. I have it going from sort of lighter brown, darker, getting a little darker in some areas, putting more red in it, mixing it up so that it's not just one flat brown color. Over here I'm going to get into some areas where I'm going to paint around some snow. Like right in here I got some snow. Got a little snow on top of this little ridge. So just still just using this big old brush that's, let's see, how am I got, this comes down here. Okay. If you have any questions, put them in the window and I'll be glad to respond. If I happen to look over, sometimes I forget to look over. I get so involved with what's going on here that I forget to check out your questions. Or all right, there's another little bit of a couple of areas up here that have a little, I think it's behind actually, behind what's here. So we'll just leave it something like that. It's not again, it's not photorealistic presentation here. I'm just trying to make this look good. Maybe I'll put a little more, put some of my violet in here. Kind of tone this down, this brown, tone it down a little bit. Get some other colors in there. Over here in this area. Don't see the color showing up I want there. Where is it? There we go. Yeah, so we're getting down now to some more snow down here. Several areas of snow sitting in here. I'm just going to sort of ad-lib it and put in some things that look like might be snow. Actually, I'm painting around the snow is what I'm doing. It's called negative painting. And I'm just dabbing in areas that look like I'm leaving snow as it's falling down off this mountain here. Where's the bottom of this thing? I guess there it is down here. All right, go back and get some more of this red. Pull it down into here. Scarlet, burnt sienna, umber, just a little bit of permanent violet. So I'm getting, if you can see my palette here, you can see the values I'm getting from light reddish to brown to darker brown to a purplish brown. So let's see, make sure I've got this thing in the right place. I think it's got to come down a little bit further here. Wet on dry. I'm going to try to keep from going back into here as much as I can, and keep it, more water in there, and let's put a little bit of this. Got some more snow over this way. Okay, by changing the values here and putting some darks in some places, I'm letting you know that there's some shadow and there's some texture in these rocks. These are just all rock slides. All this stuff just kind of slides down and breaks up. And that's a bush in there. I'll leave room for that. Okay. I think I've got this aligned right here. Yeah. Okay, that's the snow. Okay. All right. So I think that's pretty much what I want to do there. I may come back and put just a few touches of some shadow in here in some areas to kind of add some texture and add some volume to make it look like there's three-dimensionality here. I want it to kind of look like it curves over and then sort of falls down like that. soften it up, pull down a few more things like that. Not perfectly aligned up there. All right. Don't want to overdo it here with this. I've got to put what's underneath here. I've got to put this under part of this arch. And let's see. And there is a bit of a dark divider line there, sort of between those two. So I'm going to start with that. Use my umber, a little bit of my purple. I use more of my purple in here. There's a divider line. It sort of breaks this part. And it comes over here. Okay, like that. Then pick this up and pull it in. All this has been done with a 1-inch brush, folks. Haven't changed brushes. I have used that big bristle brush to soften some edges in my clouds, but basically it's this has all been done with a big fat 1-inch brush. Okay. Okay, there we go. There it comes down. And actually, there's some other rocks and things that kind of stick out here. They're a little bit lighter color, so I want to make this distinct. I want to make it a little darker at the top so that it looks like it's more in shadow here. That helps tell the story that that's an arch, because it's darker at the front, tapering back to something lighter. Okay, over here I've got a few more dark areas that can help show some. I'm trying to show something in these rocks that show they're a little bit curved. So by putting a shadow or two in there, this darker color will help tell that story. Okay. And down here we've got some darker. All right. Now this starts turning colors. It gets to be a lighter brown color down here. More water in it. And still some snow in it for sure. Actually, it's got more of the violet in it if I try to get closer to that color. Under here. I'm going to put violet in it anyway and make it look like it's and where it meets the sky, I want to put some really dark up there. Okay. And it gets in the shadow over here, going this way. Some more rocks over here. Okay. So I'm just kind of carving this out with my brush. And as you can see, the arch is starting to show up. You see some flakes of snow over here, or some flecks of snow. And on this side under here, I start getting some different colors, different tones. Got some lighter rocks out there I want to show, but put this in here. So by changing these colors up, I'm getting more definition in the rocks. Showing some distinct patterns in there that left over. So it's going to be snow down here, so I'm just going to hit this with the side of the brush. See how that works? By just taking the back of this brush with a little bit of paint on it and just pushing it over this cold press paper. You get this stuff that I'm just hitting the tops of the bumps in this paper with this brush. Don't have a lot of paint, don't have a lot of water, but it leaves a very interesting texture there that looks like it's snow sitting over the top of some rockiness or some, at least some of the color of the mountains up here. All right, this area back here, I think I'm going to have to get a little round brush maybe here and go out there and put some of this area about here that's lighter. See if I can get a good color for it. Out here. These are sitting out there, they're in the sun. And maybe just a little snow on them out there, I don't know, but they're really lit up by the sun on the other side of this arch. So I want them to be lighter, I want them to have a few dark spots in them, but I want them to show some snow and something like that. And I can always come back and darken them down just a little in some places. Still too wet, I don't want to do it yet. So over here I'm going to just flick in some of this color. Over here I think I want to do something similar. Get some areas that have that color in it over there. And start working it down. Again, another way to use this brush. See this? Side of the brush, cold press paper. You couldn't do that on hot press paper because the hot press doesn't have the bumps in the brush or in the paper that this paper does. So it's part of the artistic tools that you use is what does the paper look like and how rough is it or how smooth is it. If you're doing photorealistic things where you need a lot of control, you probably want a hot press type of paper. You want a paper that's not got a lot of bumps in it. Okay, so we'll put that there. I'm gonna go over these areas a little bit with some other tones that will add some color to it. I'm turning around looking at my screen. That should represent what you're looking at. But I like to do that because it tells me what you're actually seeing. Okay. All right, so all of this down here is snow, and it's got tones of blue. It's got some of the greens in it. I'm going to get my greens out now and start working on these bushes and brush that's at the bottom of this arch. And see if if I can get this color here. That's Hooker's green is really a bright green, and I'm gonna have to tone it down quite a bit. Try that color, get a little more of that, put a little of my Payne's gray in there. I can tone it down. So I'm getting a darker green. I'll put in a little bit of my permanent violet. So I want to get several colors of green across here using my, see how bright that Hooker's green is? It's really bright. So I can turn it to sort of an orangey color, not orange, but a different type of green. It's got more orange in it or yellow in it, and so I can get it dark. I can get it different flavors. I get multiple colors by just using 2 or 3 colors here. I could also put some of my blue in it, my ultra blue. That would change the color also from just that pure green. So what we have here is now I've got some areas where I want to put in these bushes, and they're going to cover up some of this snow. Now the color I'm seeing is not quite on my palette here, but let me see what happens if I start throwing in some of this stuff. That's a little too dark. It will lighten up. Throw some other tones in there to change the color. Like that. I'm just using the side of this round brush to pull up. I'm leaving a lot of gaps in there because that's trying to represent the snow that's kind of hanging on these things. A few places out in here that have some grasses. This over the other side, let's see if I can get some a little bit different color here in this area. These should have a little bit more yellow in them, I guess, because the sun's coming from this way, from the right to the left. So I'm going to just see if I can get a few more brighter, slightly brighter colors here. Add a little more of this yellow. Brighten it up a little bit. Like this. And there's even some of this red in there. There's some of these red colors that look like they're got some burnt sienna color to them. All right, so I'm just kind of sprinkling these around here to kind of get three-dimensionality again, right? Darker at the bottoms, and in some of these areas. Okay. I kind of like the way that's looking. I don't want to mess it up. I do have a little bit of this. Actually, it's a gray color. I'll get onto that and get me some of my burnt or Payne's gray over here, with maybe just a little green in it, but a lot of water. Take some of the water out of the brush so I don't have a ton of water in here, because this area here I want to put in some bushes that look like they have a little greenery in them. And I want it darker at the bottom. Really too dark, but Let me come back and work on that. Actually, could go in there, let that set for a few seconds, and I'll see if I can flick in some tree, scrape out some of that paint and see if I can get it. Come on here, I'm having trouble getting my. Maybe too soon. Let me try it and see here. It's too soon. So when you put something like that in, I don't know if you can see that little mark I made right there, but that's, if it goes dark, that means it's too soon. If it scrapes out to white, it's the right wetness, and if it doesn't have anything, nothing scrapes out, it's too dry. So you got to kind of play this. This is one of those things that you have to kind of play by ear. You can't just decide it's when to do it. It's not easy to. Now I'm scraping out some. Okay, you probably can't see that at all, but it has some nice, very fine scrapes in there. Let's see, maybe I can zoom in on that for you so you can see it. Let me get over here. See what I did there? See how that looks? I've taken this, the scrape at the bottom was a little bit too wet, so it turned black. But the scrape at the top, it was drier, so it scraped out the paint. So that's what you can do with just a razor blade. You can do it with the back of some of these brushes have, they have an angle on them like this, and you can just scrape them out with that. Sometimes this angle's too wide, but that's the idea. So let me back this up here now and get back to where we were. About right here somewhere. Just about there. I think we go back a little further, yeah. Oops. I think I know how to run these camera controls better, wouldn't you? Okay, so that's kind of what I wanted to show you there. And so I like that. I'm going to leave that alone. Okay, now I'm going to start coming in with some of these blues. We're going to finish this thing up here fairly soon. I'm not going to do a second painting today. I've already gone almost 40 minutes on this, which is longer than I thought, but I've taken my time. I'm not rushing, and kind of having fun with it. I like the way this is looking. All right, so the colors for the snow and the shadows, I'm going to use ultra blue again, same color that's in the sky. And maybe I'll use this round brush again. And just start putting in some things that look like they're shadows in this snow. Now this is going to lighten up, so I don't want to get excited about it being too dark, because that's the problem. If I put it in, I think it's the right tone, it's going to be too light when it gets done, because it's going to lighten up quite a bit. So you're seeing, now this is just shadows of the snow, right? So I'm going to go back and put a few more in here, over here, some areas. And when that lightens up, if it lightens up enough, it'll look about right. If it doesn't, it'll probably look too dark. Some of this snow back here has more of a tone in it. It's not just pure white. So I can take a very light set of Payne's gray and hit over this, put a little glaze over some of this. So I'm getting a shadow now that's coming down over all this stuff that I put in. Just darkening it down so that it shows I've got sun. Something's making that shadow, right? And then where the sun is really still hitting out here, it's turning into these colors, darker. And I should have just a little tone in this paper anyway. It's a little bit too stark white. So by just giving a slight touch of tone, I take out some of that stark whiteness and I start making that look like a shadow over there. These up here have to have just a little shadow on them because they are darker. Okay, so the stuff where the sun is actually really hitting on top, I want that to be maybe about as white as I can make it, but over here I want it to be just all toned down a little bit. All right, and come back now and get some more of this. Again, this is right out of the palette, right out of the tube. This ultra blue deep, and we'll put a few big things here to sort of look like we've got something over here. There's a little mound of snow of some kind. I don't have what's making that shadow in there yet, but I do have some of that going. And there's just little indentations all over the place here from where the snow is in some kind of shadow. Like that. Tone this down just a little over here. I don't want it to be pure white. I want it to have just a little tone in it because it is. So I'm just sort of finessing it now with clear water and this brush. And I'm leaving it soft. I'm leaving some soft edges, leaving some hard edges. A mixture that really says snow usually, something like that. And up here I want to do the similar type of thing, put in a few bit, darken it down just a little bit in some spots. Very, very light, very sort of like a scumbling technique, if you ever used that, heard that term. You let the side of the brush paint. You're not painting with the tip of the brush, you're painting with the side of the brush. I think these need to be darker, more of them over here on the left side. Okay. I like the way that's looking. Let me go back and get some more of this greenish color with my blues and my oranges. And not orange, it's a yellow. Okay. Just put some more in there. Darken it down at the bottom. Like that. And then on the side it's really facing the sun over here, put in some lighter or sort of a little brighter, I guess. Down here I want to start getting in some of the blues again, so I'll come back and get some of my shadow color in here and start putting in a little bit of that. Over here I've got a big shadow color that comes over. Picked up some green in that shadow color. I think I'll just take this off the edge of the paper over here, and it'll look like I have some something dark there that's making that shadow. A bit too dark, but let's put in a few. All right, then I have just a few more things to do here with this area right here where I have some rocks sticking up. I'm going to put in some about done here, folks. like this. Add some dark to it. There's another big rock right in here. Show it. So it's got some snow around it and under it. Actually comes down and run it into this area here. I'm sort of ad-libbing, not copying the photo exactly, but I want to show there's some pieces of rock formation sitting out here. And just pick up a few more spots of this shadow color and throw a few of those in up here so we have a little bit of that color up above. Tone it down with a little water. Close this off so it's not totally taking your eye out of the painting. Like this. This should have a little shadow behind it, beside it. A bit darker. All right, I think that's plenty for this painting. Hope you're really liking this. I haven't gotten any comments, so maybe you're just all watching and don't have to feel like you have to comment today. No problem. All right, I think that's about all I want to do. Maybe I could put just a little bit of tone in the bottom of some of these here, just darken them down a few places. I'll keep messing with this and then I'll mess it up. So I'm going to STOP, stop, after I do one more little standard thing. I don't know if you ever see birds out here in this area or not, but I'm going to put a couple in, I think. There's one, and maybe another one over here somewhere. And if you got two, you should have three, right? Put that one up here. Okay. Maybe even have a little one down here. All right. So there they are. That's it. I'm going to put my name on this thing, and we will call it 60-minute watercolor. I can get a tone in here that will stay on my brush. The thing I didn't do was splatter. So I'll do that after I put my name on here. I get some tone that shows up. Okay, and then I can take this mixture I have on my palette here and put a few of those things to show the more indentations in the snow. Get some more water on here. If I get a good runny brush, it will put some of the stuff on there I like. Okay, folks, I hope you enjoy that. I hope you give it a try. I'm going to back up here and take off my palette and I'm sorry, I forgot to put in that thing on the right that's making that shadow over here. Got to do that. It's going to look stupid if I don't have this bush over here that's, or it's actually a rock, I guess. Might be a rock. So I'm making this, get some color in there that looks right. There we go. Yeah, that kind of closes that off a little bit, a little better. Let's see here. A bunch of stuff floating around on top of this. It's going up out of the snow into that, over that rock, and this rock is a lot darker down here at the bottom. Okay, that's going to dry up a little lighter than that, so I'm not going to worry too much with it. But I wanted to have that in there to kind of close that off. Come on. Close this corner off while I'm at it. Just keep the eye from going out of there. All right. That's enough. That is now enough. Okay, everybody, thanks for watching. I'm glad you tuned in today, and I hope you had a good experience. Download these images and give this thing a try, and let me know how you do. If you like this, please like it and share it with your friends, and if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. Check out AntonioRomos.com website for the piano music that you may have heard if you were tuned in early. And check out Jack Bell's photography site. He's got some beautiful photographs. This is one. I didn't try to replicate it photographically, but I did try to make an artistic impression out of it, and I hope you like it. And so I think that's all for now. So until I see you again, it's Larry Hamilton saying so long for now. Bye-bye.